All right, so in this video, we're going to learn about slope-intercept form of a function. So we're going to go over how to find slope, how to find the intercepts, and then how to graph using slope-intercept form. All right, so the first thing we want to talk about is finding the slope of a function, or the slope of the line of your function. So as you recall, if we have the graph of some function, the slope is going to be how steep or how not steep your line is. So slope is always denoted by m, and that's going to be equal to your rise over your run. So this here, your change in y, or is going to be your rise, and then your change in x is going to be your run. So you can actually just count that from your graphs. You would say you go over like 1, 2 in your run, and then you go up 1 in your rise or something. So you'd have 1 over 2 as your slope. And also, slope is going to be positive when your line is increasing, or it's going up towards the sky. And your slope is going to be negative when it's going down towards the ground. All right, so in this slope-intercept form that we talked about up here a little bit, that is going to be written, your function is going to be y equals mx plus b, like I said, where m is your slope. So if you had an equation that was y equals 3x minus 3, your slope is going to be equal to 3, all right? And that's also going to be equal to your rise over run. So when you graph it, you're going to start at some point, and then you're going to go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. So you go 1, 2, 3, new point, and then over 1, your new point would be there if you started here, and then you go 1, 2, 3 over 1, and that would be the graph of your line. Now, the next thing we need to do, we need to figure out a starting point to start before you can start counting off your slope. So that's where your intercepts come in. Now, your intercepts are the points where your line crosses your x and your y-axis. So this here would be your x-intercept, and this is going to be your y-intercept. So notice that for your x-intercept, at this point here, y equals 0. You're not going up or down in the y direction at all. So y equals 0, and opposite for y-intercept, it's not going left or right. You're just right on that y-axis, so your x equals 0. So you can find your intercept by plugging in x equals 0 or y equals 0 to your function, and then solving for the other value. So for example, if we had a function y equals, let's just say 4x plus 1. So to find our y-intercept, we're going to plug 0 in for x and solve for y. So y is going to equal 4 times 0 plus 1. So y is going to be equal to 1. And then for our x-intercept, we're going to plug 0 in for y. So we're going to have 0 equals 4x plus 1. And then we're going to solve for x. So you're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So negative 1 equals 4x. Divide by 4. And you're going to get that x equals -1/4. So for this particular function, we're going to have this graph, and we're going to have an y-intercept of y equals 1, so we're going to go up 1, 0, it's going to cross there, and then -1/4 for the x-intercept, and then you can just actually connect those lines, and that's your graph of that function. Now, this value right here for your y-intercept, that is actually equal to b in your slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. So again, this is your slope, this is your y-intercept. So if you had an equation or a function, y equals 3x minus 6, and you wanted to graph that, you can actually just pull off your slope, pull off your y-intercept right there. So we know that the y-intercept is -6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a point there. And then the slope is 3. So m equals rise over run. So that's going to be equal to 3/1. So this is positive and this is positive. So that means we're going to go up 3 and right 1. All right, so we're going to go switch colors here. Go up 1, 2, 3 over 1, and you're going to plot a point there. And then 1, 2, 3 over 1. And then you go ahead and connect those dots, and that's the graph of your function right there. So that's just a little quick intro on that. Now, if you might be asked, if you're given 4x minus 3y equals 12, and it says to write in slope-intercept form, you're just going to go ahead and put it in this form here. So you need to get it into a form that says y equals mx plus b. All right, so we want to isolate y to be all by itself. So we want y on one side, everything else on the other. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and subtract 4x from both sides. You're going to get -3y equals 12 minus 4x. And then divide by -3. Now, when you divide by -3, make sure you're dividing every term by a -3. So you're going to get y equals -4 plus 4/3 x. So y equals 4/3 x minus 4. And then you can go ahead and you can pull off and you can say that your slope is equal to 4/3 and your y-intercept is equal to -4. And you could even go ahead and graph that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be your y-intercept. Again, that's where that's going to be your point on your y-axis is going to be this b value right here. And then your m is going to be rise over run. Again, we've got positive over positive, so we're going to be up 4, right 3. If one of these was negative, you're going to go down 4, right 3, or up 4, left 3. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And that would be the graph of our function there. Let's go ahead. If we had, for instance, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1 as our function, and we needed to graph that. We know that our y-intercept equals 1, right, because this is positive here. And then our m equals -1/2, which is equal to our rise over run. So that means since we've got a negative, we're going to go down 1, right 2. Right? Because if they were both negative, then we'd have a positive. So one's going to be negative, one's going to be positive. So down 1, right 2. So we're going to start up here at 1, and then we're going to go down 1 over 2. And notice how our line here is going down into the ground, right? So it's got a negative slope, so we did that correctly. All right, so that's just a quick overview of slope-intercept form. As always, let me know if you have any questions.